Thank you guys for joining us today. I am Kate Guillen. I'm the founder of Simplicity Ops, and I'm joined today by my friend Mike Wilson, CEO of Hamachi AI. And I'm very excited to share with you what they've been cooking up and what they have built. It is very exciting to me. I got to see some demos last week at Future Proof, and I'm just thrilled to get to share it with the rest of y'all today. So, with that being said, Mike, I'll turn it over to you. I'll let you introduce yourself and get this thing kicked off.
Great. Thanks, Kate. Really appreciate it. And thanks for everybody for joining today, or if you're watching at a later time, thank you for your attention. Super excited to share with you what we are building at Hamachi, what that means to the wealth management industry, and what a forthcoming relationship and partnership with Simplicity Ops will hopefully look like at some point. So, um, really quick, I'm going to jam through a couple slides and then I will go into a live demo, which is always a high risk, tightrope walk, but I'm feeling pretty good about my chances. So I'll do that with you all today. And please, if you have any questions during this live presentation, please raise your hand. In my opinion, there's nothing better than like a live Q&A type of back and forth here, and you're not tripping me up by asking questions at all. So please do that. And then later, if you're watching this asynchronously at a later time, please just comment right in the thread or feel free to email me at mike@hamachi.ai with any questions, or you can DM me on LinkedIn, whatever your preferred medium for connecting is. All about talking to you all. All right, so without further ado, let me see if I can get all technical with it and share my screen. Let's see here. So I have a couple slides um, that I assume you all can see. The first is, excuse me, this is just generally, Hamachi, right? So what we have here is our command center. I'll show you that in a few minutes. What the important thing to zoom in on, though, is this bottom line where, we are, an AI platform specifically built for advisors from day one. And the key to that is we've always had a compliance first approach to building our platform. I'll explain to you all what that means here in a few minutes. A little bit about me and my team. There's probably some familiar faces on this slide. I founded, was co-founder and leader of a business name Advisory World, investment analytics, portfolio modeling, and proposal generation software. Eric Clark, my co-founder, good friend and business partner, was a former founder and CEO of Orion. Mustafa Basiri, who is our CTO here at Hamachi, a great friend as well. He formerly found Advisor, sold that business to Orion. It became Orion Planning. He was CTO at Orion for many years. And last but definitely not least is my good friend Brian McLaughlin, co-founder. He founded Redtail, which many of you probably use. Sorry about that. So continuing on, that's our core team. We are all actively working on the product and sales and strategy 24/7. We are in startup mode, as you could say. I mean, we're bootstrapping, working hard 24 hours a day. We're all over this product, all four of us um, having a blast. So here's like the kind of the key pain point, if you will, that we see advisors trying to solve day in and day out. Number one is you have to produce a ton of documentation. Whether you're prepping for a client meeting, you need to respond to a client email, if you're trying to produce social media content, or whatever that means, whatever you might need, there's a ton of materials that you're tasked with creating and sourcing. And that's magnified by the fact that there's data all over the place. So you have some data in your CRM, you might have data in your portfolio management system. I mean, this is no like surprise. You all have to deal with it on a regular basis, is trying to connect your systems. That just magnifies the problem at hand, where in the pain points at hand, where you have to actually produce highly personalized materials for your clients. So that's kind of this top layer. The bottom layer is, you know, absolutely AI can help with these things. But first of all, there's significant risk in using AI. Uh, there are things like many advisors that we've been told that are using Copilot. Maybe you're using ChatGPT on the side of your desk, or Gemini or Claude or whatever, um, and that just creates serious risks in terms of if you are accidentally placing PII into a large language model. Maybe you're using copying and pasting emails, or you're dropping statements or whatever it might be into those platforms. That can turn into leakage very quickly. In fact, IBM came out with a recent study that said that 29% of banks and financial institutions, 29% put their hand up and said that they were putting PII um, into large language models accidentally. Willingly, they said that, which meant that, there's probably a whole lot more than 29% that are actually doing that. Um, that same study goes on to say that 20% of all data breaches are being caused by AI, and that number is on the rise. So there are two very, scary things happening there, right? First of all, PII is being leaked into these large language models, and then on a 20% and growing basis, that data is breaching out of those language models. So that's a serious concern that you are all either aware of, or like that's a block from you using AI to its fullest capability. And alongside of that comes these compliance gaps where it's difficult to supervise chats, look at what's being produced, and so forth. So these are all kind of foundationally issues that we see at Hamachi. And so what we've done to support this is, first of all, we built a household intelligence layer where we understand as much as we can about your clients and your prospects by way of CRM, portfolio management, and planning systems. The second is a group of expert bots or agents that really understand wealth management. They know that from the sense of how to work with clients. They know about investment products. They understand these key workflows. And then the third, but definitely first, are these enterprise guardrails, right? That's where we build, significant controls around your use of AI to make sure that no PII is ever leaked. We make sure that all the content that's being produced is reviewed through SEC and FINRA regulatory checks rigorously before it ever comes to your desktop or is ever sent. The important thing to note there is we don't ever send anything on your behalf at Hamachi. You are always in the loop. Humans always in the loop. So we produce something that's really good, and then it's up to you to just check that and make sure you're okay with sending it out. And then the last is the ability to like go back again and see all the historical chats you've had, uh, or any of your advisors have had. So that's kind of a quick background. What I would love to do now is to jump into a quick demo for you and show you how Hamachi works. Um, Again, feel free to throw up a hand if you have any immediate questions. Um, Kate, anything come to
Nothing.
mind?
I have a question. I'm curious when, well, I think it'd be funny if you shared the origin of the name of Hamachi. I think that story is really funny. And I'm also curious, like, when you realized that there was a need for this, because I mean, my background, I think this is absolutely brilliant in a way to really leverage all of the wonderful data that we've been collecting. But I'm curious where this idea came from and how you're thinking about it differently than like the AI note takers and stuff that we've all been, kind of exposed to over the last couple of months.
Cool, thank you. So, all right, so I'll give you the origin story and the name origin story, and it fits nicely into like the why. So I first built a POC back in early last year, and Eric Clark and I were just looking at the business landscape. We said, listen, there's AI is going to be used in financial services and in wealth management technology, no doubt about it. People are using it already, but what is like what are kind of like the key things that keep advisors up regularly? The first is like in our minds was we're having trouble getting our data together. That's all around simplicity. Like you guys are amazing at helping advisors like get their CRM and their portfolio everything in check. It's difficult to do that, right? So we've been really focused on that. But in addition to that, Kate, we said this industry has got significant regulatory controls around it. We can't just be willy-nilly about talking to Chat GPT or to Gemini or whatever about financial concerns because that your data is going to get out there. And those were our real underpinnings. So the very first proof of concept that I built was on top of Redtail. And we still have the same type of functionality. It sits on top of Redtail. It's an Outlook sidebar, and basically it helps you understand what's going on with your Redtail client in real time to answer any emails that they're sending you or to create new emails that you want to send to them. So that was the very first thing. And on that POC, I was calling it Yellowtail. And, and before I showed it to Brian McLaughlin, Eric and I were kicking it back and forth. I was like, you know what, Yellowtail, that's a little too close to home. I'm a big sushi guy. I know you are too. You're a sushi gal, Kate. So and so I was like, all right, I'm gonna call this hamachi, which is Japanese for I think baby yellowtail. And the rest is history. So I ended up changing the name to Hamachi, showed the POC to Brian. He was like, first of all, this product is incredible. I want to we've got to all do this together. And then he's like, secondly, I just bought the domain name hamachi.ai. I was like, so he's like, so you have no choice but to partner with me. Here we are. But yeah, those key underpinnings were kind of twofold. One is like, how do you harness this incredible set of data that's out there, but it is disparate? And then two, how do you do so in a highly secure way with these guardrails?
I love that. And I really think that's the kicker and what the big differentiator is. And I do have a question that came in and I think is going to lead you right nicely into your demo is Hamachi a standalone system or like where does it live?
Yeah, so it's threefold. First of all, it lives in your Outlook. Um, it also will live in your browser, so you can use those on their own. We're also working with a lot of different enterprise software companies to embed Hamachi directly in their apps. So think about like how Hamachi could be inside of things like financial, which is a client portal, financial with a Y. We're looking at embedding Hamachi inside of Salesforce and some of your favorite portfolio management and CRM platforms as well.
Love that.
All right, so let me jump right in unless there's any other questions that you see, Kate, that I should
No, go
handle.
ahead and get into it, and I'll let you know when. I guess one more came through is whether or not it's been broker dealer approved, or if you have any broker dealer partners that you are in talks with.
Yeah, that's thanks for that question. So the very first broker dealer that has approved this is United Planners, which is another awesome story in my opinion. Like we went and sat down with United Planners in their offices in gosh, I guess they're in Scottsdale, Phoenix. I don't know exactly where the line is. But we sat down with them and we laid out everything we're doing with Hamachi, and then we said, here are the things we're doing with compliance, which I'll show you all here in a second. And it was that compliance, those guardrails that we put forth, whether it's the PII redaction or it's the ability to audit historical, chats and so forth. That's what really, resonated with them. And they said, listen, you basically have built, this ultra compliant system on top of OpenAI or Anthropic, and the way that you've done that, it's allowing us to say yes to advisors because they have plenty of advisors that want to use AI, as we all do, but they knew that they wanted to make sure that they had a platform that was stable and most importantly secure before they open up the pipe. So United Planners is the first. We're talking with a lot of other broker dealers currently on the heels of our recent product launch and meetings we've had, and Future Proof Citywide and Orion Ascent Conference. We're just really starting to pound the pavement now.
Exciting. Well, I'll let you demo and then I'll fire off a couple of other questions as you go through that.
Cool. All right, thanks. So let me see if I can get my screen to an appropriate size here. How's that look?
It's still uploading. Give it just a sec. There you go.
All right. So here's Hamachi, for example, and this is kind of a messy screen because I use it for a lot of different demos. But if I start here under start a conversation, you'll see that I have a few different skills that are available to a user right out of the gate. So I can do things like daily planning and generate a daily dossier. So I'll go ahead and do that really quick. And while that's running, I'll show you that you also have things like the ability to search all of your households or find households with recent portfolio declines, look at upcoming birthdays, what are things that are due for outreach. And you'll see in this case in the background what's happening. I'm just, to take a second because I'm going across the whole book of business. In this case with Salesforce, we do the same thing with Redtail. We'll be doing the same thing with Wealthbox here pretty soon. But we already have this with Salesforce and Redtail, where it's going out now. It's pulling all the data in your book of business to try to isolate, every morning what's most important for you to be talking about and with who. You could also say, let me see the households. Let me find those with recent losses. Um, this compliance component, I'll show this to you in a few minutes here, give you this run through. So a lot of folks that use Hamachi use it to generate content, whether those are white papers, pieces of material for your website, blog posts, social media posts. So they'll use Hamachi to create that. But if you have another tool or other ways to create content, you can run them through Hamachi as well. So this is an example of, taking, maybe you've created a white paper or you've had someone generate a white paper for you. You can throw it in Hamachi, run through it. It'll find where there are any concerns and produce a remediated example. If I look at, another skill would be our investment research skills. In this case, we're integrated with Morningstar. We'll soon have an integration with Zacks Investment Research, which is a wonderful research shop out of Chicago. You're probably familiar with them. But these skills allow you to go in and evaluate individual investments. If you look at these skills in the context of a household, it'll actually pull in the client's existing holdings and run them through Morningstar or Zacks or both, depending on what you're looking to do. And then this last section here under expert bots, this allows you to go through and pick individual or multiple agents belonging to asset managers that you might work with. Maybe this is a TAMP that's got content. There are also the ability for industry experts to come in and put in their own agents that, one, allow you to ask questions to them, but two, you can overlay them on your book or on an individual household to get talking points or get insights on where things like, I don't know, dimensional might fit better for a given client. This also opens up the ability for these agents also allow the ability for you to create your own bots, right? So if you have, at your firm, if you have a rainmaker and you like how she or he talk about investments to given investors, you can plug their content in here and then apply that across your whole book of business. Or maybe you have your own custom strategies that you want to deploy. You can use these agents to do so. So in this case, you can see I've ripped through really quick, this entire book of business and identified meaningful signals. You can see the number one thing is to reach out to the Williams household, and the biggest opportunity is to call the Martinez household to put all this cash to work. In this case, it says you should call the Smith household to address the negative quarter in the taxable account and reduce the concentrated position. So this is just that real quick hit forensic to start your day. As I continue on, I can go back and look at, now I see I should reach out to the Williams household. I can pop over these households And you can see in this case, I could search for a household, or I could open up the Williams household and say, let's start a new chat. Now I have these skills here where it says generate the household brief, and there it'll go off, pull real time all the information about this household and give me the key elements to work on for the Williams household in this case. Similarly to what we saw at that level up, I have skills that are very specific to this household. So I can say, prepare for a meeting, create a strategy brief, find opportunities for this person, check the risk alignment, run full intelligence scan. These are all skills that we're coming to you like right out of the gate. You can configure these skills much like you can build your own agent on Hamachi. You can configure skills that are specific to your firm and have those live for, any of the folks in your office. And whether you're, a broker dealer, maybe you want to deploy those to all of your reps. Or if you're an RIA, you want to give it to all of your IARs, or you're an OSJ, you want to have it for all the firms that use you for supervision. Like those, you can deploy skills and agents across platform, depending on however you conduct your business. I'm sure there's another dozen or 100 acronyms in our industry that would fit in there, but here you can see really quick. So we've gone off and reasoned for a few seconds. We've asked Salesforce about the household, and we're generating this meeting prep. So it says, here's the, this is a moderate risk profile. You've got an annual review coming up. They've got market concern. They're working on, how to have this concern with high concentration. You can see all these tension, exposure, focus. So you've got all of these different things, and it says as a quick follow-up, all you have to say is yes to get, a deeper view here. So I can just literally say YES, and it's going to funnel through really quick again. It'll take a look at things like, here's this known exposure to NVIDIA, Alphabet, and it'll give me a whole series of things that Hamachi can actually help us with. So,
This excites me on so many levels. Obviously I'm kind of an RIA ops geek. But one of the biggest pain points that I hear from advisors that we work with is everything feels so disjointed or it's clunky. And it's like, yeah, well, because your CRM like has a lot of this data, but it isn't super easily accessible. It requires running a bunch of queries and reports and like exporting it to Excel and then, formatting it so it's easy to read. There's not a real easy dashboarding feature. Doesn't pull the custodial and portfolio management information all that well. I mean, it does feel clunky, and we've got workarounds and things that we do. But what I love so much about this is it really is like the pulse of the organization. You can see so quickly from a business management standpoint what's going on, from an operational standpoint, what's everybody working on, what are the top priorities for the day, what are the three big things I need to get done that are revenue generating, what clients do I need to be getting back to that I promised I was going to do something. It pulls and compiles all that information in a centralized place. And then what you're showing here for like the meeting prep and risks and from a client servicing perspective, it makes, having a meaningful conversation and deepening the relationship so much more efficient. Like when I was serving advisors, I would spend numerous days compiling this information out of all these sources so the advisor had time to prep and look like a rock star in front of the client.
thanks, Kate. Yeah, we've really doubled down on that. Meeting prep is one side of it, of course.
Sure.
And you asked previously about like Jump and Zox and some of the other folks that are kind of the space. I mean, we're doing all the things that firms like that can do to a certain extent. But beyond that, like think of this as being much more generalist, that you can create agents, you can create these skills. You have the ability to look at a book holistically and ask any questions about it. Uh, in this case, you can see, you can like these are our skills that we're defining for you, but you can customize these or create your own any way you want. Here you can see you've got a vitality score. Are they a retention risk? And it says yes. Is there revenue expansion opportunities there? there is. Um, you can continue on and look at things like the signal stack. So there's risks. Here's where you have leverage. You'll notice that we have confidence scores here. This just tells you how like comfortable and confident we are in this response. Um, relationship pulse. Is there any planning tension? These are all things, again, as you prepare for engaging with the client, whether this is someone that you have a meeting scheduled with, or if it's someone that your daily dossier bubbled up and it said, hey, like, you haven't talked to the Williams household in a little while. You probably should take a look at them and use this type of, you know, brief to help you zoom in on what's really important. So here it even gives you 3 things to talk to them about. It gives you a draft email to send to them.
This is all so cool, and my wheels are just spinning about additional use cases because anybody that's been through an SEC audit, I can also see this as a very easy way to flush information to the surface because it's pulling from so many systems.
Thanks. Yeah, and you can see like we actually have a skill. If I go back to just the general chat, let me see if it's in here. Oh shoot, it might not be in here. We actually had a skill set up that helped people with the SEC audits. I forget what it was.
Fabulous.
Oh, my bad. Anyways, before I go on to the next couple features, thanks for bringing that up, though, Kate. Before I go on the next features, I want to show you what's kind of happening on the back end to give you an idea of like the power of the chat audit, for example. So I can go in here and see like, well, Steve Barton. This person engaged with Hamachi and AI this many times. You can see even though he did these things and went on to delete those chats, they're still available for audit. So you can still go in and see what he asked for. So he asked for, Salesforce household data for this family, and it came back with that information. I could go into my account that I was just demoing with, and you can see literally this was what we just did today together. So we generated that daily dossier, and here's what it produced. So this type of control and ability to go back in time and see what was generated, it's super important, right? For the SEC or FINRA, because they're not going to ask you just like, what did you send? They're going to want to know like, what information did you share with with the with AI? What was produced by the AI? How did you make sure that it was accurate? That goes back to that like confidence that I was sharing with you. And you can see here, like even these agents, how are they responding? So here's this, agent was asked this question, and here's what it came back with. And it even sources exactly what was provided in those responses. This type of, very deep compliance control and observability, excuse me, is going to be critical to your organization. Beyond that, you can see you can configure Hamachi to do things like, know more about your organization, including have your LinkedIn profile. You can add your documents into Hamachi, and it will start to learn from those and speak and understand more about you. And then you've got the ability, of course, to set your regulatory status. You can be SEC, FINRA, or both. This is controllable and administered at the firm level. You can turn the PII anonymization off. I have it off for this demo account, but it's important to have that on because, of course, what that does is every single time you engage with the large language models, it redacts and protects all PII from ever touching them. So it would never know who Mike Wilson was because it's just going to see a placeholder for Mike Wilson. It won't know who Kate is. It won't see their account numbers or tax IDs or anything like that. It's all completely obfuscated from large language model. Super important. And then as I mentioned before, we have a series of different integrations. One of those integrations I want to show really quick is what we built with Redtail, because I know many of you use Redtail. So if I go over here, it's going to look and feel very similar to what I just showed you with the Salesforce instance. But if I open up this household, I can see here really quick um, a couple. Actually, let me do this on the fly. Well, no, I'll just show you. I'll go back in time. So here you can see, I went back to the Par family and I said, let me look at what activities are available here. So it pulls those up quickly. And then I can say, I want to look at, what action items are in the CRM. Do I have any recent planning content? And I do. And then I say, you know what? Let me use FP Pathfinder to help with this. I don't know how many of you all use FP Pathfinder, but here you can see it's finding relevant guides to help with this meeting. And if I click on any of these guides, they'll pop up directly in here. I can download this guide. I can have it guide me through the process. So if I click on guide me, it's going to, guide me through the issues to consider in a client annual review. So the very first thing is, has there been a change to cash flow or budget? You can see like this type of deep integration is starting to come to life here inside of Hamachi, where it surfaced in this case that the Par family had um, uh, a client review coming up, and then it said, you know what, the FP Pathfinder guide can help you with that. And here are the type of questions that you want to be able to walk through with this client.
Couple of questions, Mike, about integrations while you're on this topic is, do you guys connect with Pershing, PAS, eMoney, Black Diamond, Orion, SharePoint, Wealthbox?
All right. So what I can tell you is that we do have integration points with Redtail, Orion, Salesforce, Financial. Through Financial, we're getting eMoney, Black Diamond, and InvestNet.
Amazing.
We haven't yet directly gone out to get Pershing data. However, we are talking with Pershing right now about opening up those pipes.
Um, and what about Wealthbox?
Oh, thank you. So we met with Wellbox at Future Proof, and we are both engaging on an integration there.
Exciting. When you were talking about the skills in one of the previous screens, is each one of those skills a separate subscription or are those baked into the product?
Those are baked, so those come with Hamachi, and you can create your own skills as well.
That's really cool. And then people are asking here questions about integrating with SharePoint to pull client documents.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so we haven't done that yet. We are the first company that we're going to integrate with for pulling documents is going to be Box,
Mm,
but I'm sure we will pull data from SharePoint, or sorry, files from SharePoint sooner than later as well.
very cool. From a compliance standpoint, where are the chat audits stored? Well, I guess you showed that, but like how long are they stored for?
So we have the what's called they're worm compliant. So we store them. I think it's for. I should know the answer to that. I think it's 5 years is what worm requires for cold storage on those.
Okay. And in terms of the PII redaction, how did you test that? How do you know that that works?
Uh, well, we have a SOC 2 compliance report. We have a third party auditor that reviews that. And actually on the PII redaction, we have a patent pending on that whole process that checks to make sure that PII is redacted before it ever hits the LLM. I could share with you like more details if you'd like. In fact, maybe as a takeaway, I'll in the deck I'll add a slide that goes over that,
That'd be
so you
awesome.
can see exactly how that works.
Do you see a use case for using this tool as kind of a knowledge base for team members to source like SOPs and best practices?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we do have, if I were to go here to expert bots, for example, and this particular org doesn't have any expert bots, but if I were to create one called like, let's just call this the um, sample advisory. So agent. Like what I can do is I can literally attach knowledge base to this, and that can come in the form of either files, or I can have a vector store if you have a vector store. Um, and when you do that, then this agent would know everything about, and have a knowledge base, everything about sample advisory company. And then every single user at your firm then could tap into that. Furthermore, we're working on the ability to allow you to embed this agent if you wanted to, either on an intranet or on your website, your public website, so
Very
that
cool.
any visitor can go in and ask questions of it.
I mean, this is far more advanced than the system that I've been using, but it has been a tremendous new hire training tool. Having that centralized place to go ask best practices or get training tutorials or Loom videos on whatever it is that they have questions about has eliminated a bottleneck around training so significantly. This is a tremendous use case.
What's cool about that, Kate, thanks for bringing this up, is that it's amazing to have best practices at your fingertips, whether
Sure.
it's on your public website or just to ask the best practice in flight. I think it's even more impactful though that when you have a household up like the Parr family, and you have a question like, I don't know, I need to do an RMD for this person, then it can rely on those best practices in the context of your client. So you're
Right.
not just asking like, how do I do an RMD? You're saying like, this Parr family I need to get them situated. How do I do it for them?
I love that you brought that up because that's a piece that's really missing right now when people are using, ChatGPT or whatever it is you can ask it and you can say like, hey, how should I respond to this? Or like, help me articulate this complex planning topic. But it's just going to give you the ChatGPT version. It's not going to give you, the ABC wealth management version, which is why we are such huge fans of like templating emails and things like that. So it feels like you, it sounds like you, and now the fact that it can take into consideration who you're talking to. I mean, you need to have good data in your CRM, which you and I had talked about in length, but it's going to know political affiliation, religious beliefs. It's going to know a full picture of who these people are. So the message is tailored specifically to these people. It feels so much more sincere and personalized. But you and I both know how, easy this tool made that for us.
That's true. That's absolutely right. We talk about personalization at scale, and AI brings that to the forefront. The one thing I would call out though, and something we've been highly focused on when it comes to personalization, is personalization with consistency,
Yeah.
meaning that, if and that's what these skills give you. What I'm getting at is like, if you were to ask ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever to prepare I don't know, a message or get ready for a meeting for a client in one way, and then one of your colleagues were to ask in a little bit different way, you could get very different results. And that's not like, that doesn't work in wealth management or financial services. Like you've got to have some level of consistency. Yes, you want to know like what's important to this person and that person, and make sure that you're talking to them the way that they like to engage, but you definitely don't want to talk to them like totally different. And you don't want to have two people talking into the same person differently because they have a little different way of like prompting. You all on this call, and me included, we're not like prompt engineers, right? That's not our day job. Our job, your job, is likely to like work with an investor to help them feel comfortable about their financial goals and their investments, and make sure there's alignment there, and keep them, moving towards, positive outcomes. It's not like you're not supposed to be out there figuring out why like you prompted something a little bit differently than the guy down the street or down the hall from you, and that made a very different output. So we're building these controls and these skills in place so that you don't have to become prompt engineers. You're getting consistency. I'll give you like a little bit of a, glimpse of experiment we're running that right now, and that's with these dashboards, things like this that are available now in Hamachi. Think of this like, I don't know how many of you have heard of vibe coding, um, or how many of you are actually experimenting with vibe coding. Basically, that's just the idea is like basically anybody can code now. Well, that there again, like yes, anybody can code now, but it's super time intensive one. Still, it's way better than it ever was by like leaps and bounds, but it still takes up a lot of time. The bigger problem though is getting this consistency and the ability to make it scale. And so what we're doing at Hamachi on this front is we're allowing you to imagine things like little apps inside of Hamachi while still getting the guardrails and of course all the integrations and connectivity you need. So in this case, all I said was show me an accounts dashboard and it gave me this visualization. Again, this is experimental. We're not, we're just testing this out right now, but if there are ideas that are going off in your head watching this or seeing this, and if you have questions or if you built a vibe coded app or if you have something that you want to build out, please ping me and let me know. I'd be happy to show you how this works because again, we're pretty hot on this concept too, just like we are on the skills that we built, all grounded in these guardrails.
Question here, and I don't know if you're going to get to this at the end or if this is premature, but they're inquiring about cost, early access pricing that's mentioned on your website. Will you include that as part of your follow-up?
Yeah, certainly. So the cost on our website right now, the early access pricing is $25 per user per month. And that covers everything that we've seen so far today. Um, we do expect that, later on the prices will change as usage goes up. The good thing is though, we're seeing holistically across the boards with AI that token costs are going down. And so as token costs continue to go down, our prices are not going to go up exponentially.
I'm
So
curious,
go
you
ahead.
know, with as you've been developing this tool, have there been any surprises around how people are actually using this in their day to day?
Yeah, so I'll tell you I'll stop sharing for a second. The kind of the biggest surprise for us initially is I haven't even shown you our Outlook integration. We can save that for another day, or you can feel free to ping me and we'll do a one-on-one demo with you. Um, when we initially built the tool, it was all around email interactions and helping people respond to and create emails using Outlook. And all of our initial beta participants love that functionality, but almost to a person, they said, "This is incredible, but we love your chatbot experience, what I've been showing you all today." They said, like, you know, there's so much more functionality we can get over there. Emails are great, but we're trying to prep for meetings. We're putting together white papers. We're trying to find, opportunities in red tail. We're looking for the next person who's going to be upset with something, like so like all of that experience is what's available in our general chatbot, which is, again, think of that as like ChatGPT or Anthropic with guardrails.
Very, very cool. And I mean, obviously, the coming from an ops background, I geek out about the idea of using it as like a business management tool, letting it actually read our CRM. I'm curious if when you think about the data, what it's going to give you is only as good as the data that's in the CRM, right? Or in any of these systems, really. For people that are interested in leveraging this tool, what are some things they should be thinking about to get the most out of Hamachi as it relates to like their systems and their data? What do you suggest they do as step one to get the most out of Hamachi?
Well, I think the first thing that you want to do is you want to connect your CRM to
Mhm.
Hamachi. Absolutely. And then from like a data hygiene perspective, shoot, like I think that's a natural progression, Kate, to what you and I have been talking about, how we might be able to partner with Simplicity and Hamachi. And that's where a firm like you could come in, yours could come in and help make sure that the data is clean and 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 configured correctly on the back end on the CRM side. Um, and just kind of I hope I'm not talking out of school, but from, to get a glimpse of what that type of partnership might look like is think about a simplicity agent running on Hamachi that's constantly checking and grooming your CRM to make sure that the things that Simplicity recommends and the way that you've engaged with Simplicity are constantly being observed, and there's grooming going on constantly to make, again, just to ensure that that hygiene stays at a level that ensures consistency across your whole
Yeah.
platform.
And that idea really excites me. And because you brought it up a couple of times over the course of this conversation about consistency. And in order to get that level of consistency, or like, you were kind of referencing the how quickly trust erodes when you get two different answers from two different team members. And that comes down to a lack of consistency. So I just see such an exciting use case for leveraging Hamachi as a business management tool, as an operations tool to keep your systems behind the scenes super dialed so that you can make, have meaningful interactions with your clients when you are in meetings or emails or what have you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been incredible and like eye-opening over the past couple of weeks. Some of the conversations we've had with home office folks that are like, listen, like this is great. Like front lines, hand-to-hand combat, advisor, investor, like going into meetings and so forth. But also from a home office perspective, getting the business intel
Yeah.
lens and being able to do some of the things that Hamachi's doing now with those, those apps that I just briefly shared with you. Um, that's been really eye-opening. Like firms are saying like this is incredible what you can do on the, advisor investor side, but like can we zoom out and look at how our whole business is performing, and are there ways that like we can find opportunities for our advisors the way they're interacting with clients? Is there a better approach? Are there certain practice management uh, capabilities we can pass on to people through skills?
It's very cool. And that leads itself well into this question. Can it also be used as a standalone like AI chat model beyond like client data? Can you go and ask it things like how does a Roth conversion work, or any like planning specific topics, where it could actually like replace ChatGPT or anything else that they're using for general questions?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So think of it as Chat GPT, but with all these controls and guardrails on top of it. So anything wealth management, financial plan, if you ask it like what, about a Roth, it's going to answer a Roth. And then if you do have the FP Pathfinder integration turned on, then it'll say like, here's a guide that'll help you out with that. Um, and if you have any of those expert agents turned on, it might say, depending on what you're subscribed to, let's just say maybe Dimensional has something around a Roth conversion. It'll bubble up Dimensional content too for you if you want that. Or if your own firm has got a white paper on Roth, it will help, a junior agent get access to that. So all those things apply. Now, if you try to use Hamachi to book a trip from LAX to Miami, it's gonna tell you no. It's we're not a travel agent. It'll say call Mike's wife. She's a travel agent, but it won't. It doesn't do that, right? It's all around wealth management and protecting information and being highly accurate on the way that you can communicate with your clients and internally.
Man, it excites me so much, and it's been so fun to watch the evolution of all of this and reflect back on running an RIA in 2017 and the level of like chaos and discomfort I felt around meeting prep, around follow-up, around compiling the information from Dimensional, all of the different systems. Just really felt like a fire drill. And the fact that we have this now like at our fingertips tangibly is a remarkable progression, and I'm very excited to see the future of this.
Thanks, Kate. Yeah, it's wild. I mean, I've been in this industry my entire life. Um, and when we went from the PC to the web, that was like earth-shattering, life-changing, incredible, right? This seems like that on like roids or peptides, right? Like it just like
Absolutely.
it's on fire, right? It's just amazing how rapidly this is changing and how much of a positive impact that AI can have on the advisory business.
And so a question along those lines is like, we've all experienced the hallucinations of chat. How do you protect Hamachi from doing something like that and kind of going off the rails?
Yeah, so there's multiple approaches to that. I'd say the first is we have that observability layer to make sure that we check for precision on the response, and we don't service anything unless it's rigorously like vetted for that. So some of the reason that like you see it, thinking for a while as we're generating results is because it's checking for accuracy, and there are peer reviews as part of that. So like you don't see that, but behind the scenes, like AI is checking AI, right? To make sure that there's accurate results. And then on the back end, I briefly showed you that, in some of the responses, you can literally go in and give thumbs up and thumbs down. You can do that like in Chat GPT and stuff, right? But what's happening in real time in Hamachi is as you're going through embedding responses, that's making a meaningful impact as to what's shown down the road. But I'd say the most important thing is that observability component in runtime to make sure that everything is passes our internal checks, so that it reduces any ability for hallucination.
I love that. Yeah, this is the first tool that I've seen that gives me a level of like comfort and safety around what we are getting from it and what we can put into it. I appreciate the guardrails tremendously, and I know based on conversations I've had with others, they do too. So bravo. It's very, very, very exciting.
Thanks,
Okay,
Dave.
one more question and we'll get wrapping here, guys. We got a couple more minutes. Assuming no data is used in the training of any of these models.
That's right.
Question mark,
Yeah,
question mark.
there's certainly no PII is ever used to
Mhm.
train any of it, right? You can use your data to train your agents. So I showed you there that like you can create agents, and you would probably want to train your agents on your data, whether that's a white paper from ABC Advisory Company, or it's historical emails that you've had at ABC Advisory that you want to build up your corpus with, but that doesn't go into any type of general training.
Very cool. Very cool. What else you guys got? We got a couple more minutes here. Thanks for letting us pick your brain. This is very cool to see it all come together.
Thank you. Yeah, we're running a mile a minute, so or a second it seems like, but thank you. It's a incredible form you built here at Simplicity, so we appreciate being here.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom with us and your vision for this tool. I'm personally excited to use it in my own business. Shoot, I'm not even a financial advisor, and I can see so many use cases to help me, just manage the business on the back end. I think it's really awesome what you guys are building.
Thank you.
Well, with that, you guys, I don't have any other questions coming in. We can wrap. Like I said, we'll be sending out the call recording once we get it edited and posted to YouTube. Mike will be sending a follow-up with any of the resources that we covered. And I think you mentioned one other freebie. I don't remember off the top of my head, but we'll make sure everybody gets the information that they need, and Mike's contact information. So thank you guys all for joining us, and Mike being generous with your time and sharing your wisdom with our community. I really look forward to the future of Hamachi.
Thanks, Kate.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon.